Welcome back, everybody, to the Omniverse Comics Guide podcast. We are your Omniverse Comics Guide guys. I'm Eric. That's my pal, Dave.
Hello.
Dave, how's it going, my friend?
Oh, good, thanks, dude. Quite relieved. Got the last item for Christmas shopping, so that's all sorted.
Nice.
Yeah. Do you
So
want to
you
look?
could just rest. Sure, yes.
I got this for my kid. It's Robin from Teen Titans Go. He wobbles his butt.
That's amazing. That's fantastic. I mean, that's awesome.
It doesn't do anything else. It's probably go after like 5 presses, I think.
She'll be over it. It's okay. It's still really cool.
Yeah.
It's something to add to the collection. As long as she doesn't start copying the dance.
She does it already.
Then
we all know the song.
All right, so you're already there. Everybody that is hanging out with us today over Twitch, we love you guys. Thank you for coming back on our Friday. This is a rare Friday afternoon for me and a Friday evening for those in the UK. Thank you for all hanging out with us and switching up your schedule. For those that are on YouTube watching us after the fact, thank you for tuning in. Give us that rate and subscribe button. We really appreciate it. A thumbs up, ding, and leave a comment if you like what we're doing or not like what we're doing. Just be nice. That's all. Just be nice about it. But we really appreciate you tuning in. And of course, OmniverseComics.guide is your one-stop shop for everything that we got going on. It's got reading orders. We've got podcasts and creator interviews and a bunch of other incomings that we've done over the years to let you know what's come out and what's worthwhile to get. So check us out at OmniverseComics.guide. Dave, it's that time again.
Oh, yeah. Incoming.
January 2025. Yeah. Holy shit.
Time marches on, dude.
Right? Mm-hmm. Yes, another year. So we're going into our 3rd year of the Omniverse.
Yeah, we are.
It's flying by. It's great.
It's our 2nd birthday. We should have got cakes. We'll do cakes next time.
Next week.
Yeah.
Next week is cake time.
All right.
For sure. Yes. And it's almost that time for us to do our yearly roundup of our favorite reads and books of the year, which is always a ton of fun. You're right. Those are the best countdowns for sure. But we're going to do our incoming collected editions. Before we begin, is there anything in the Omniverse Mail Bag this week?
Well, it's funny you should ask, sir. Let me have a little rummage. Right, so yes, a couple of things in the Omniverse Mail Bag. One is the Art of Ian Richardson, which is Ian Richardson's art book. We did an interview with Ian. It was a collector's item special. He shared some of his favourite items. You may well have seen his art on Halo, 2000 AD, and all sorts of crazy indie books. And I love his style. And I managed to get a copy of this from Ian. It's volume 2 of his art books, and that will probably be it because he's going to finish up his career in comics soon, which is it's really sad. I'm sad about it. So that was a beaut. Chuffed to get that this week. Chuffed.
Awesome.
Yeah, we all know what that means. Plus,
I'm going to start saying that here.
You should do it. Plus, I got my metal bookmark. Catwoman metal bookmark.
Ooh, sexy.
Mm-hmm. Thank you. So's the bookmark, though. I think you need to remember that. Also, Toby Beale, artist and writer Toby Beale, I met him at Comic-Con last year. Well, no, it was earlier this year, actually. He said he was working on a comic and asked if he could send it to me when it was done, and he has. So I'm going to have a read of this very soon, but this is his book, The Unaccompanied, and his art is sweet, man. Yeah, you like that?
Mm-hmm.
You like that?
Okay, I like it.
Yeah,
I like it.
So I'm gonna have a read and I'll let you know. But like his stuff is really cool, and he's a really, really lovely guy. So I'm looking forward to having a little read of that. Fantastic. And thank you, Toby, for sending a copy.
Shout out to
You're
Toby.
a little gent.
Yeah. Very nice. Thank you. Oh, thank you to everybody who sends things to Omniverse, whether it's to England or to Canada. We appreciate it. I haven't gotten anything yet, but we'll see if that changes. Hopefully, maybe I'll get a gift package before the end of the year to share a mailbag. Ooh, who knows?
Who knows?
Maybe Dave will send me a nice present. Just say, here you go. Here's.
yeah, it's on the way.
The Robin shaking his butt.
I've spoiled it.
All right. I think you let me go first last time, so I think it's for you to take the first pick of our incoming for 2025.
Now, to kick us off for the year, I'm picking something that's got a little bit of a caveat in that it may not be one of the greatest things you've ever read, okay? But it's the beginning of something great. So, they're re-releasing The Authority Omnibus this year because, of course, that the film's going to come out soon. But before you read The Authority, you need to read this run of Stormwatch. So this is the Stormwatch Compendium. It's paperback, 656 pages. It collects Stormwatch Volume 1, 37 to 50, Stormwatch Preview number 1, and Stormwatch Volume 2, numbers 1 to 11. It's written by Warren Ellis. A chunk of the art is by Brian Hitch. A lot of it's Tom Rainey, but it also introduces Apollo and Midnighter, who are two of the bigger characters from The Authority, and two of the most popular characters, especially Midnighter. So they're kind of the Wildstorm universe version of Superman and Batman, for all intents and purposes.
Right.
Stormwatch kind of took a different direction when Warren Ellis jumped on. It seemed to be a book of a ridiculous cast of quite samey characters. And then Warren Ellis took over and he went, let's ditch a load of characters and we'll have certain specific teams for certain specific missions. Like, okay, this is cool. So he took it in a new direction, and this will take you through that to the end of Stormwatch. The actual end of Stormwatch, just so you're aware, is collected in, I think it's one of the Dark Horse DC Aliens collector editions, which are really hard to find now. The odds of that being reprinted at this point would have to be another Marvel versus DC type deal, because Aliens now come under Marvel. So it actually ends with an Aliens versus Wildcats kind of crossover. You can find that on the omniversecomics.guide website. I'll stick it on. And that'll tell you what you need to find if you want to find the original issues, if you want to find the books, but you need to be prepared because they ain't cheap, sir. But yeah, so if you're into Authority, or you want to get into the Authority before the film comes out and before the Omnis come out, you need to pick this one up. One thing I will say about DC as well, and a lot of these collected editions, is they say 656 pages, but you often get more.
That's true. It was on my list, actually. I should have went first, but
I'm so sorry.
No, that's okay. It's good to mention it because it is one of those things coming out in January that I think is very much worth your while to read if you're I think it's a good jumping on point, because as much as there's like a universe that already exists within the Wildstorm sort of continuity that I'm realizing now, having read the Wildcats compendium.
Yeah.
I really appreciate the direction that everything ends up going when certain creators come on board. And this is, I think, like you said, that touchstone moment where Warren Ellis takes over and lays down the groundwork for what does become the Authority, which is a really tremendous run of comics.
Yeah.
It's such a precursor to everything that I think Marvel and DC kind of attempt doing themselves in the next decade after that.
Yeah, it set the standard for a long time afterwards. And the thing is as well, this is quite early Brian Hitch, and he was literally about to quit comics before he got this gig. Now, if you want to find out more about that, plug, watch the Collector's Item special that features Brian Hitch, and he tells you a little bit about how he ended up drawing the Authority.
That's right.
And also talks about Ghost Machine.
Ooh,
so yeah, you can get in on that.
Plug.
There's all sorts of career highlights talks about in that, but he takes you through what he was working on, and it's really interesting. If you don't know much about the Authority, it is basically a JLA sort of Avengers team. They're the big league team, and instead of waiting for the big thing to happen, they deal with it as quick as they can. But some of it's just massive interdimensional stuff. They wanted to make it as big and grandiose as possible. Let's just throw that in there and let's just do that. And it's like, it's just crazy. It feels like an event every story arc. So yeah, Stormwatch Compendium, also referred to as Stormwatch The Road to Authority Compendium, DC Comics, January the 7th. Get it.
Nice. Great pick.
Thank you.
My first pick will be also with DC. It's a DC Finest option coming out in January. And it is a book that I've spoken about numerous times of how much I love this run of comics. I'm only halfway through reading it because it comes in two very large, chunky omnis. And this is the Green Arrow Longbow Hunters, the Mike Grell era of Green Arrow. If you haven't read it before and you haven't wanted to commit to the big omnibus option, it's completely understandable because they're a higher price ticket item, and it's quite an investment to give something a blind buy if you haven't ever really read Green Arrow. But if you want to, this is a really, really great place to start, because it's one of those, I would say, one of those runs that a creator kind of redefines or gives you the definitive sort of take on a character that had been not floundering, but Green Arrow, they teamed him up with Green Lantern in the past with Denny O'Neil, and Neil Adams can really give them like a sexy story to go with in the sense of powerful writing, really, really great artwork. Here's a book that we may or may not cancel. Let's team them up. But this run here really redefines Green Arrow and gives him it's almost like he's in the DC universe, but it's not bound to it.
Mm-hmm.
It almost reads like a Vertigo comic or an Image comic.
Yeah.
Where it's not filled with superpowers and teams and things like. He's very much a vigilante. He's if I can see where, I don't know if you ever watched the Arrow television show.
No.
But you can see where some of the things that made that show even exist, like have a good enough storyline to exist, come from Mike Grell's stuff. It's very ahead of its time. I was able to have a chat with him specifically about some of the things he did in regards to this run, because I am quite a big fan of it. And he would just take articles that really had happened and build a story around real news events. So it's a really informative book. It's really well done and ahead of its time. So this is I think a neat place to begin if you want to have like a cheaper option to give this a test run.
Yeah, it's very affordable, and it's it's out on 21st of January. It's got Detective Comics Annual 1, Green Arrow 1 to 8, Green Arrow Annual 1, Question 17 to 18, the Question Annual number 1, and Green Arrow The Longbow Hunters 1 to 3. I think it's around 600 pages. Now, you ready for my number 2? This
Numero dos.
Isn't it? I know, I'm just trying to figure out how big this beast is, because this is a deluxe edition from Oni Press. Okay. Now, normally their deluxe editions look like this, which is not small. See that?
Yes.
They're pretty huge.
It's very huge.
When Oni do a deluxe edition, they tend to be the really good stuff. So they've done Kaiju Max, they've done Letter 44, they've done The Sixth Gun.
That's right.
And they're all comics that I found I've absolutely loved. So I don't know if this is coming out in the same size, but they've labeled it a deluxe edition. This is Backtrack Deluxe Edition. I don't know anything about it, really, but it's one of those things where sometimes with Oni, I just kind of look at something they've got and go like, ooh, okay, that looks interesting. So this is a 10-issue series. I'm going to read the blurb.
Do it.
It says The Fast and the Furious meets Back to the Future in this high-stakes car race through history, from writer Brian Jones from Bill and Ted and artist Jake Elphick, WWE NXT TakeOver. That means nothing to me. Now collected in a deluxe hardcover edition. Guilt weighs heavily on former criminal wheelman Alison Levy, whose personal life is in tatters. That is until eccentric businessman Casper Quellex makes her an offer to participate in a cross-country race where the winner can correct a single mistake from their past. The catch, each leg of the course will have drivers racing through a different period of history where they will contend with medieval warriors, dinosaurs, natural disasters, and all-out pirate brawls. Quellex is determined to make this his most entertaining race of all time.
Sounds awesome.
I know, right? It just looks like a fun book, man, and it's a 10-issue one and done. I don't really care if it comes out in that crazy massive size or if it comes out in a standard hardcover and they just call it deluxe.
I love the fact that it's a one and done too. Like you could read a full story, 10 issues. Like I think of Lady Killer. So good.
Yes. That's just it, isn't it? Like it's just that slight bit above, a 6-issue. It's like, it feels like you're getting a bit more meat.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
It's coming out on Oni Press, 288 pages, January the 21st.
My number 2, thankfully, is something I already own. Well, my number 1 and my number 2 are both things I own. Whew, don't gotta buy them. In the same, in the same vein of DC Finest, I'm gonna cross the street over to Marvel and take their version of DC Finest in the Epic collections. I always like to highlight an Epic collection that's coming out. This era of Marvel is kind of like that 2000s time, 2010s.
I think I know 80s. What it is.
What do you think it is?
I think it's Iron Man.
Yeah, it's Iron Man. Was this on your list? Iron Man.
It was on my reserved list.
I'm hit or miss with Iron Man. Just sometimes I want to punch him in the face while I'm reading Iron Man in the 2000s,
Uh-huh.
2010s, like during that era. You're just like, you son of a bitch. But I really like this version of Tony Stark. He's a little more tolerable. But it's in that sweet spot of when Captain America was the captain. There's a
Yes.
crossover during this time in this epic as well as Cap's epic where they're both going through very transitional periods of their identity and what the world is thinking of them. It's funny how when all the books are kind of in sync,
Mm-hmm.
everything is going really well for the whole line. Like I feel like that was a sweet spot. Like the Avengers were strong, Cap was strong, Iron Man
Yeah.
was good, Thor was like doing
X-Men was
well.
great.
X-Men was great.
Spidey was
Spidey
great.
was great. Like
Hulk
across the
was
board.
starting to pick up.
Yeah, there was a lot of stuff that was like exactly Hulk was on the pickup. So you were picking up any book at that time, and there was something to
Daredevil.
talk about. Yeah, Daredevil. I mean, you had something for everybody, and I think that Iron Man moment in time where it's the second David Michelinie, Bob Layton run on the
Yeah.
book, and I think you got
I think it's Mark
MD
Bright.
Mark
Yeah.
Bright, MD Bright, or Mark Bright, who is on artist duty. I really like this stuff. I've read this before and I thought it was a lot of fun, so much so that I wanted to collect what came after it to get like the full scope of this kind of era of Michelinie and Layton. I enjoyed it so far. So I think I have collected up until Stark Wars 2 where John Byrne takes over with Ramita. But oh, go ahead. Tell
Well,
me what you
that's the weird thing with this, because like when they released it as a collector's edition, originally they changed it so the storyline is called Stark Wars in the comics, and
Yes.
then they released it as a collector's edition. It's when they weren't really doing trade paperbacks, but certain stories they'd pull, and they changed the title to Armor Wars because I guess they
Right.
figured people wouldn't know what Stark Wars meant. It's not like Iron Man was a household name then, and it's
Right.
been Armor Wars for years, even though it
Yes.
wasn't originally. That's what most people
Yes.
refer to it as.
You're right.
So
You're right.
the thing when they did the sequel, which wasn't really even a sequel because it didn't really have a connection to the first one, that was called Armor Wars 2, but technically the first one wasn't Armor Wars, so it's a bit of a funny little deal. Yeah, with this one, it's back to being called Stark Wars again.
Yes. And yeah, I can't even say that this is what happens in this moment here. I just remember that it was a real transitional time for Tony Stark, but the book is very, very strong and consistent throughout. And it's a sweet spot, I think, for Iron Man. If you don't want to read Robert Downey Jr. as Iron Man, which I feel is what they kind of based him on later in the
Yeah, they
comics,
did.
very strong. You kind of hear his voice a lot in that character. I really enjoy this pre MCU version of Iron Man is a lot of fun. But Iron Man Stark Wars is my number 2.
Guess when it's coming out? 21st of January.
January 21st. Thankfully, it's only
400.
your stuff. It's only your stuff that I have to buy. The stuff you recommend.
It's 496 pages as well, so you're getting a nice chunker there too.
Yeah, it's a perfect size.
Thank you. Now, from the 80s, we're going to jump ahead to the 90s. Ah, the decade everyone loves to hate. Why?
I'm liking it more and more.
I love the 90s. In fact, the stuff I'm going to mention now was mentioned in our X-Men 90s, top 10
Yes.
X-Men from the 90s episode.
Give me some
So
X-Men.
this is X-Men Road to Onslaught Omnibus. Now, I held off getting the trade paperbacks of this because I figured one day they'd do them in an Omni.
Yeah,
And
I got the trades.
Oh, did you?
But I got them secondhand, so I didn't spend a bundle on it. But I do have the trades of it. I haven't read it yet.
So this collects Uncanny X-Men 322 to 328, Annual 95, X-Men 42 to 47, Annual 95, X-Men Unlimited 8 to 9, Sabretooth Special number 1, Wolverine Gambit Victims 1 to 4, Starjammers 1 to 4. There's that Starjammers series in that book is probably the highlight for me because it's written by Warren Ellis. Like, of all things, I don't really care about the Starjammers, but it's written by Warren Ellis and it's drawn by Carlos Pacheco. I mean, you can't go wrong, right?
Can't go wrong.
That's a team up. So this follows on. There's a bit of a time jump between Age of Apocalypse, which of course we jump to another universe, and it's the X-Men from another universe that kind of save the multiverse at that point. But spoilers. So now we jump back to the 616, but it's time's passed, and that's when we're going to start to find out what was going on. with the X-Men in that time, and like different people are different teams now all of a sudden. Some people are in Excalibur that weren't in Excalibur before, stuff like that. This for me was a period of time when I was really loving comics because I'd taken time out. After Age of Apocalypse, I dropped everything to focus on alcohol and ladies. So this is when I came back and I had to buy back all these issues. And I was going like, what's going on? Who's this Onslaught person? Like, because Juggernaut falls out of the sky and lands on the ground. And he's like, Onslaught is coming. Like, what's Onslaught? What's it about? So I love that kind of build-up. Like, what's going on? We're trying to figure out what's happened over the past month or something, or 2 months. And now you're telling us about stuff that's coming, that someone's put down the Juggernaut. Like, who's Onslaught? So the build-up to this was a lot of fun.
Never read Onslaught.
Haven't you?
Read it. No, I have the Omni. I've been meaning to read it, and I've said I got to read Road to Onslaught first. I've made it too much of a chore for myself, where I'm like, you got to read everything in the X-Men that leads up to that. And
well, this is a chance to do that, though. You know, if you do get this and the other volume, there's a chance to do that. So it's fun stuff. It's that great gaudy 90s, overly exaggerated, bombastic silliness. For me, can't go wrong. I mean, even when it's good, even it might not be the greatest, but it's still good. It's good, fun comics. Omega Bread said that Juggernaut cover completely hooked me. He's right. It was a Joe Madureira cover, and he's like crashed into the ground. You know, like someone has floored him. Marvel Man says Starjammers was a really fun read too, so he really liked that. And he's just finished reading Onslaught and absolutely loved it. I rate Onslaught at about a 3-starer. This is what brought me back into reading comics. Onslaught brought me back to comics of all things. You know, so it can't have been that bad. But it was the build-up. I love the build-up. Often the build-up to the event is better than the event. It's how it is. It's that excitement for, what's going to happen. And then we've got the reveals. Like, the reveals is good. But it's the build-up. I love the build-up. I like looking forward.
Yeah, it's the same thing when people are watching
porn,
television shows, and what'd you say?
What?
All right. What do we got going on in the Omniverse?
Okay, let's have a look. Old to the Omniverse this week. These are our top 5 most popular posts for the last month. At number 5, it's the Warworld saga from 2021 to 2022. The Superman story arc with him trapped in Warworld and looking slightly old. Number 4, Invincible 2002 to 2018 reading order. That's going to have to be expanded soon because they're releasing a Battle Beast series. Number 3, Transformers 1984 to 1994, the Marvel years. Number 2, Secret Wars 1984 to 1985. And number 1, it's Ultimate Spider-Man 2000 to 2018 reading order with Peter Parker, Earth 1610, Ultimate Universe. Every time.
Why is that?
Don't know, man.
That particular story, that run.
Yeah.
Ultimate Spider-Man is just,
it's great.
It is great.
It's probably one of the easiest Spider-Man eras to tap into as a new comics fan. I don't know why it is so consistently viewed, but I don't know, maybe it'd be a good marker of something to explain how our reading orders are different from everyone else's. Because I think that's one of the things. Like some people go, "There's a reading order. There's loads of reading order sites." Like, I'm try and do it in the way that makes the most sense.
It's your reading orders are the best, and I'm not just saying that because you're my pal. No, it's true. Yeah, no, I was like, damn, this guy's crazy. He really goes all in.
Well, tell you what,
He's
for that,
nuts.
I like to go all the way in to the plums. And here's my humility-based harmonica outro.
Are we continuing the countdown?
It's you, sir. You're the number 3, Zoe. It's your 3rd.
All right, let's do it. I'm going to go to a book I have never read before, but I've heard nothing but good things about it. And it's back to the Ed Brubaker list of books, and that is Dr. Doom, Books of Doom.
Ooh.
I've never read this before. Have you read this? I've heard good things about it. Yeah.
A long time ago, but yes. I forgot Brubaker wrote it, to be honest.
Yeah, I remember listening to a podcast many years ago, and they were they were doing a full episode spotlight on Doom, and one of the hosts really, really spoke highly of this being a great backstory, history into Doom's mythology, if you will. So it collects books of Doom, 1 to 6. I don't remember the original year that this was published, but is
it's about 2002-ish or something.
I think early, like that. Yeah. So this is the description. Full origins of Marvel's most iconic and enduring villain, Doctor Doom, are revealed, as told by Doctor Doom himself. Includes brand new introduction by Ed Brubaker, and a character like Doom has so many versions that you read throughout the years because he's an evergreen villain.
Literally.
Yes, literally. Intend that pun. But he's kind of everybody's ultimate bad guy.
Yeah.
He's shown up in Spider-Man. He showed up in Iron Man. You name it, and people have come across Doom for some reason or another. But I'm interested to read this. Ed Brubaker, as those who have watched our previous episodes know how highly we rank him amongst writers. Mm-hmm. So this is a really nice thing to be being re-released, and of course, it's in time for what Robert Downey Jr. has been cast as Doom in the upcoming MCU movie. So yeah. I think you're going to get a lot of Doom product in the next little while, really high, which is good for us as comic book readers. Right. I'm fine with that. As long as you don't put movie versions of Doom on the cover. I hate when they do that.
I know. Why do they do that? It's like when they released that Black Adam series as a 4-issue trade, and then instead of running the Alex Ross cover, they ran a picture of The Rock. Because he's always The Rock to me. I can't remember what his real name is. Is it Jeff?
Dwayne Johnson.
Dwayne Johnson, thank you.
Yeah.
Oh, it was 2006. Omega Bread has said as well. Again, thank you.
Again. Thank you. Yeah. So have you read this series?
Yeah, a long time ago. And in terms of it kind of putting Doom's origin in some kind of modern context, because that's the thing. I think the previous definitive origin was Fantastic Four Annual number 2. I think there was a story of his origin in there, and that's in the 60s. So they didn't really go into it properly again until this 2005. So it kind of puts it in a more modern context.
Nice. Well, I just realized, speaking of Doom, I'm wearing an MF Doom t-shirt. You can see that.
Oh, is that a Beto one?
That's a Beto. Yes, this is the one that in the preview that you posted in regards to on that one, he was talking about this was the one I was referring to. So worked out.
Nice.
MF Doom. There you go. Inspired by Dr. Doom. Might as well wear the shirt for the episode.
Oh, by the way, that one comes out. Can you guess when it comes out?
January 21st.
Yeah, you're darn tootin'. It's 152 pages. And yes, it's by Ed Brubaker. The art is by Pablo Raimondi. My number 4 tonight is from Dark Horse. It's by Mike Mignola with color by Dave Stewart, as always. Reliable Dave Stewart. Now, this isn't a Hellboy spin-off or an Outerverse spin-off or anything like that. This is a whole new thing. The new folklore-inspired tales abound in this anthology of 8 fantasy stories written and drawn by Hellboy creator Mike Mignola, featuring a bonus sketchbook section. That's it. I'm done. Thanks, please. I love Mignola. It's 112 pages. It's a little hardcover, so it's probably going to be like your standard size hardcover. It says, from a search for the beating heart of a long-dead sorcerer to a pirate girl who makes a deal with the devil to a titular, it contains the word Eula, who wins a grim prize in a game with some undead interlopers and more. This is classic Mignola. This is what he does best. So it feels like it's been a while.
I really got to start reading some Hellboy. It's the one big blind spot on my shelf and in my reading experience.
Well, also definitely give Baltimore a try. He doesn't draw it, but he does write it, and that was the best Outerverse series. That was really good. Two chunky but standard hardcovers.
Okay.
Yeah. When it works, it works. You know, when Mignola does this stuff with Dark Horse, he's been with them for years. But when he nails it, he nails it.
Yeah.
It's just a pleasure reading his stuff.
And he's got it's again one of those creators who have a very specific style. When you see it, you know it's them. And when you read stories like that, I think over time start to become attracted to it because you realize, okay, now I know why they do what they do, or they're kind of recognized for what they're known for.
Yeah.
Because at first glance, there was times where I was younger and I would see, Mike Mignola Superman, and I was just like, why does Superman look like that? But now
why does he look
get
like
it.
a Rubik's Cube for some reason?
Exactly. Yeah. Why is he so? What happened to the other guy drawing him? But no, now I can appreciate it. Like Cosmic Odyssey.
Yeah, of course.
A Mignola, yeah, and you would think Starlin would be the right guy for a cosmic story, but Mignola knocks it out the park.
He completely does.
He's so good.
I mean, this one, don't forget, it's called Bowling with Corpses and Other Strange Tales from Lands Unknown. And guess when it's out?
January 21st.
Woo!
We should just call this episode January 21st.
We'll do another one for the week after and some other stories.
And some other stories.
Done. That's going to be on the title card.
Oh, man. Okay. This is a re-release. Another one that I own, thankfully. But I'm hoping that this re-release leads to them putting out the rest of the series, which they never continued in the past. And that is New Avengers Omnibus. Brian Michael Bendis, during that sweet time of him taking over the Avengers just before we get into Civil War, really laying the tracks down during the Avengers Disassembled, relaunching the title, putting together a fresh new team, including some characters that had not been Avengers before, but man, this was a good time. David Finch on art to start. I feel a lot of people who might have read Avengers probably have come across this stuff at some point, because this is such an omnipresent time where the ramifications of Civil War was an event that really affected all the books and all the characters in some capacity. And this is all the stuff that leads up to it. So, man, this is a really, really fun time of comics. You'll be turning those pages, like you'll be so in can't think of my words today, but you'll be invested in these stories.
Yeah, it's one of those things where there's so many levels to it, 'cause it's not just a big punchy uppy superhero book. 'Cause they took the lead from Ultimates. Like, why isn't Avengers selling as well as Ultimates? So Ultimates was the Ultimate Universe version of the Avengers, if you weren't aware. But they're right, it wasn't selling. And then Bendis in a meeting one day said, why don't you just put the big names in the Avengers, the big name characters like the Justice League do? And people go, no, you can't do that. So then they went, yep, no, you can do it. So next thing he was doing it, so it's so cool. So it starts off with Avengers Disassembled, and then that's when you get into New Avengers. So it's issues 1 to 31, annual 2006, Most Wanted files, this very random one shot with Fantastic Four, Giant Size Spider-Woman, New Avengers Illuminati one shots of all the Confessions, of all the Initiative. It's 1,208 pages, and it's out on January the 7th. And Omega Bread said 2025 is starting off saucy, and he ain't wrong.
Yeah.
It's bringing the sauce. It's patting the arse end of the bottle constantly in January 25.
So some of the artists featured in this, that on the cover it's listed. So David Finch, Steve McNiven, Frank Cho, Mike Diodato, Lineal Yu, Olivier Coipel, Alex Maleev, Howard Chaykin, Pascal Ferry, Jim Chung, and Mark Silvestri are artists in this.
The Civil War tie-ins, that's where a lot of those do one issue each. So that's why you get so many. But some of them do something like Cho's on for about 2 issues, I think. His art's so good. I just love his style on that Spider-Woman storyline. Like, it's perfect.
Yeah. It's great.
If you're new to this era, get this book for sure. 100% get it, but also get House of M and Civil War trade paperbacks, because they will slot in between certain arcs. I am building something up as we speak that will guide people through. I forgot this was coming out quite so early, so I'm going to need to jump on that a little sooner than I thought. But if you just get those 2 books, it will become clear where they sit.
Oh yeah. Yeah, and it provides so much context to the storylines, because House of M is as much an X-Men story as it is an Avengers story in a lot of ways. Like, it's very much a Marvel Universe story of what was happening in that time. But yeah, good shout out to include those in there. Great stuff. I really hope that they can. I can't wait to see a volume 2 of this.
Well, we've been waiting a long time. I recommended when this came out a long time ago, the first printing. I said to somebody, you need to get this. It'll be 2, maybe 3. I think it's 2 books. Yeah, it'll be 2. It's 2 books. And it's great. And you'll get those 2 books, and you don't necessarily need to get anything else apart from House of M and Civil War and Secret Invasion. But go with it. And the Volume 2 never came out. So we did mention Volume 2 being on our Most Wanted list, on our Marvel Most Wanted last year. And then they announced this. So,
someone's listening out there. It's all because of us, guys. We
it's solely because of us.
Did it, guys. Thank you.
Okay, my number 5, my last one for tonight. This is what I have it in already. I showed it earlier. It was a little teaser. This is my favorite comic of all time. Lucky enough to interview writer-artist Sander Cannon earlier in the year, at the start of the year, because Volume 3 came out at the end of last year, and it was my number 1 choice for our top 20. I love this book. It's so good. It's so smart. It's so clever. There's a ton of notes as well while you're reading, so you can ignore them if you don't want to read them, but you can get all the references. It's all the references are mentioned in the small print. It's set on a prison island for kaiju, and they all branch off into gangs based on the kind of different kaiju they are. So all the mechanoid ones will go off to one area, and all the the lizard-like ones will go off to another. So it's almost like in prison where all the different groups split off, based on what kind of gangs they're in. It's that. You've got some of them as well that kind of like Mothra type characters, but they've got tattoos all over them, and so it's just so good. But what's great about it, and I know I've said this before when I've talked about Kaiju Max, is it's so disarming because the art is so cute.
Right.
So when something horrible happens, it sort of takes the edge off, but it's also weirdly more shocking because you're going, but I was in a comfortable space and just kind of laughing at how silly this is. And there's some modern commentary about kind of the prison system and stuff in there, but it's so subtly woven in.
Right.
And it's so smart and it's so referential. But even if you I love the idea of kaiju, but I don't know much about kaiju ultimately. I haven't watched that many films. I'm not massively into it and I need to watch another kaiju film. I've seen one in the last decade, I think. The rest of them I just couldn't sit through.
Right. Yeah, I'm not so well versed, but I've learned to really appreciate monster movies. I don't know if it was during that pandemic time where I just wanted to watch something where I shut off my brain and haha, look at it, they're just fighting. Look, I just wanted something to fill that void of not everything has to be so intense. And those monster movies really, really scratch the itch. Yeah. I enjoy them.
They can be good fun. And the thing is that there's something, this is a really respectful reference to those kind of films. And there's loads of notes in the back as well, at least there is in this. So I think it's the same page count. It is, so there are six issue minis in total. So these are the first 2 6-issue minis, season 1, season 2. So it's 12 issues, 304 pages, and it's coming out as a complete collection, volume 1. So there'll be 3 books in total, and that'll wrap up your Kaiju Max collection. Now, it's really difficult when you sit in front of someone and say something's your greatest film your favorite film of all time, or the greatest album you've ever heard, and immediately people go away with this insane level of expectation. Don't go in with an insane level of expectation. Just if you like it, you've won.
You're not the first person to have said that this was their favorite series, podcaster-wise. You're not the first person who, and the other podcast host is a pretty well-read, well-rounded. It's I can't remember his name now. David Harper from Off Panel.
Oh yeah. Oh really? It's his favorite.
He would always Kaiju Max. Just love Kaiju Max. Xander Cannon. And I'm like, what's this Kaiju Max? And then when I saw it at a store, it was one of the copies that you've got there.
Oh yeah.
And I opened it up and I'm like, oh, the artwork is childish. It's kind of weird for me. It's an acquired taste. Mm-hmm. I'm sure I would like it because I like pretty much every comic that someone could recommend to me. I'll read it.
Yeah.
It was just kind of my excuse to not invest in it because I knew I would have to get 3 deluxe oversized stuff.
They weren't cheap, those books either.
No, they weren't cheap. So I talked myself out of it. But when you mentioned it, I said it must be a really good series. It must be, because you're not the first person to. No, you're not the first person to mention it. So
yeah, there was a bit of hype around. I think it was in one of the final issues of Wizard that I ever bought. They mentioned it in there, and I did try it. And I think I was of the mind of I don't know if I want to read something that looks too cutesy, and I don't know if I want to Like, can I get invested in that? It wasn't where I was headspace wise at the time. And what I liked about reading it as a 12-issue collection is that once you get through that first thing and you've settled into it, you've got another 6 issues. And that was what cemented it for me. By the end of it, I had to get volume 2. I had to. You know, it's one of those things where sometimes the chunkier collection just pays off.
Yeah, I know what you mean. Yeah, for sure.
So
nice.
Kaiju Max complete collection. And when's it out?
What's the name of the episode? January 21st.
January the 14th. Yeah, it's out on the 14th, mate.
Got me. You got me. You're a jerk. For my number 5, I'm going to pick something that's also coming out on January 14th.
Ooh.
There you go. This is not a book I've read, so if I do pick this up, it'll be completely blind buy, going off of the strength of my faith in the writer, whose name is Mark Millar, formerly known as Mark Millar.
Drink.
So The Swamp Thing by Mark Millar and Phil Hester Omnibus is being released January 14th. I know that they had put this out in, I think, soft covers before. I've never really been sure the angle that he's coming at with the character this time around, because I'm not a well-versed Swamp Thing reader. I have the New 52 Omnibus, which was excellent, way above my expectations of what I thought I would enjoy in regards to the character and a whole comic run of him. Alan Moore is often, heralded as this is his era of Swamp Thing is the definitive run. It's the best thing ever written. You have to read it. You'll have a trip when you read it, all of that stuff. But I've never read it. I can't recommend it, and I can't necessarily say where this is at, but it is early Mark Millar, and he always does stuff that surprised me. I can say that much. Sometimes some people would say that he does the stuff for shock value, but putting something in an omnibus during that DC Vertigo sweet spot, and it follows the work of Alan Moore and Nancy A. Collins, who I guess had kind of cemented what that character should be prior to. So let's check it out. And Phil Hester, he was the artist on, was it Green Arrow? Yeah. So I wonder how his art would work with Swamp, because I see Swamp Thing more with the artists who are very detailed oriented and flowery, like a Yannick Paquette was, or
it's
like
not in this era. So it looks more like the kind of art you'd see on Sandman. So this was the period of time like when Vertigo all basically looked like Sandman. So when you pick up Doom Patrol, it's kind of got that sort of swirl. It's a lot of British artists. A lot of them seem to be emulating that style. The book before with Scott Eaton on it, Scott Eaton from like certain X-Men stories and that he's Thor. And Thor, his art looks nothing like that when he was on Swamp Thing. It looks like these kind of swirly, ethereal.
Have you ever read any of this?
Yeah, I read the first story arc and it was okay. I was reading it to include it on the Mark Millar episode. But it didn't quite meet the mark, so I didn't. But I'm still keen to try it. And also Grant Morrison co-writes some of this, I think, too.
Interesting. Well, yeah, you get 30 issues here, issues 140 to 171. If you're a Swamp Thing fan, worth checking out. So far, my experience with Swamp Thing has been really good, because I think that New 52 series, especially the Charles Soule.
Oh, that's so good.
When he ends it, I remember that being really, really strong. I've got to read it again, but I'm a fan of Mark Millar. I'm willing to give his stuff a shot.
Definitely give it a go. I'm going to be giving it a go. Just don't expect it to feel like that modern Swamp Thing. It will feel very, very different.
And that's fine.
Which is cool, right?
Yeah, that's fine. I don't want it to be like something I already read before.
No, exactly.
That's the other thing. Yeah.
And it's 896 pages as well, which is fairly beefy. And the other thing with DC and Omnis is they seem to give a page count like that, and then it comes out, and you have a look at the page count, you've got an extra 100 or so pages.
Yeah, but they'll never tell you what they don't give you table of contents. No. They don't put a number on their issues. It's just you're 50 issues into this book, and you're like, I don't even know what part of the story
Here's
I'm
the
at.
Cover. What issue is it? Well, I'm not telling you. Who's the artist?
It's ridiculous. It's true. But it's nice to see them putting out more and more Omnis for people to have their shot at reading a whole series instead of things being left languishing that you can't collect it anymore because it's not in print.
Did you have any didn't quite make it?
It would have been Magic Order from Mark Miller and Olivier Coipel. And the other one was Witchblade Volume 1 from Marguerite Bennett. I have no sort of baggage with Witchblade. I've seen covers and books for years that I've never paid attention to, but this was a Volume 1. And I said, okay, this is maybe a jumping on point. And I like Marguerite Bennett's writing for other things she's worked on. I've enjoyed. So I gave it a look-see. Looks pretty interesting, but
well, it's interesting to see that Witchblade's got more clothes on these days. So how times have changed.
That too, right? That too. But yes, those would have been my extras. How about you?
Nice. There's Paul Smith's Uncanny X-Men Artist Edition. Those Artist Editions are lovely. Micronauts, the original Marvel Years Omnibus Volume 3 wraps up the Micronauts collection. Daredevil by Chip Zdarsky Omnibus Volume 2 wraps up the Zdarsky run. Death Vigil from Image. And finally, DC Finest, Aquaman, the King of Atlantis, which is kind of the beginning of the Silver Age Aquaman stories.
Well, you know you love your Silver Age.
I'm really getting into the Silver Age stuff. So I've read some of the kind of end of Silver Age into the Bronze Age stories, and they're terrible. And I love them. I love how awful they are. There's no scene setting at all. You can have bad guy gangsters in it, no names. There'll be a character in it from multiple issues, no name. It's just like, what is going on? Who are these people? And it's just so weirdly written, but I really like it. Like, it makes no sense.
These comics suck. They're so good. It happens.
The covers are great as well. At least those Steve Skeets covers on those late 60s, early 70s issues are amazing. They're so cool. But I don't know who does those ones, but Silver Age DC and Bronze Age DC, I'm just, any chance I'll pick something up.
Nice. That's so fun. What a rabbit hole to go down.
God, I know.
Have fun.
Thanks.
Might
not come back out.
I know. Well, that's our first incoming for 2025. We did it.
We did. God.
Another one bites the dust. Thank you, everybody, for hanging out with us.
Another one bites the dust.
Right? Keep going.
I'm not.
There you go. Nice. I like that. Thank you for everyone who hung out with us on Twitch today. We know we don't usually have our usual suspects because of the change of time, and you know we're an international show, Dave. So we got folks who hang out with us from all over the globe. But to Marvel Man and to Omega Bread, thank you for joining us and for keeping us honest. When we make a mistake, we can't remember a name, you give us the goods. That's why you're our production team, behind the scenes guys that make us look good.
Yeah.
So we appreciate that.
Thank you.
Dave, as always, a pleasure. Good to see you, my friend.
Likewise, my dude.
Great job on the Brian Hinge interview, by the way. I just want to tell you that on the show. You did fantastic.
You. Great job on the Jeff Johns interview as well.
Thank you. Hopefully we get some more Ghost Machine in the new year.
Yeah.
I'm working on it.
Yeah.
I'm working.
Oh, nice. See what we can do. Nice work, man.
Well, everybody, don't forget to visit us at omniversecomics.guide if you want a reading order to some of the best comic book series out there. Dave's made a bunch of them for your reading pleasure to help you get through. Yeah, more to come. And, of course, if you're watching on YouTube, give us that thumbs up and a subscribe. It really helps us make the show reach a wider audience and helps us make a better show in the process. And that's what we're trying to do. Till next time, keep reading, have fun. Don't spend too much money, but buy some comics.
Yeah, treat yourselves.
Treat yourself.